I had this encounter, and I was walking on the beach, and I had been out there for several hours, and then all of a sudden I had like this awareness that something was like watching me, and I felt like there was no part of me that wasn't like fully seen, like my thoughts weren't private. Literally every ounce, every fiber of my being was seen by something. I had a really rough childhood. It was kind of, really toxic. And so I was kind of really suffering with a lot of like rejection and abandonment issues and like severe anxiety and depression. So I ended up falling into like the partying life. And I just got into this like really bad cycle of self-hatred and harming in the way of like, not necessarily physically, but like just drinking myself to death. I kind of became an alcoholic, and I hung out with not good people. I got into the drug scene, and I ended up selling a little bit on the side. I felt like alcohol eased my pain. I felt like it made me feel better. I felt like nicotine took away my emotions. And that's ultimately what I wanted because of like what I went through as a kid. And I just really needed love. And I didn't really receive it from anybody. And so I just decided that if nobody cared and God didn't care, I was just gonna live however I wanted. And I actually, kind of made a deal with him. I was like, well, if you're real, in a year, I'm going to experience all the things that I want to. I just felt kind of hopeless, honestly. It felt like in my mind, I didn't have a good relationship with my parents. I didn't have a good relationship with people. My mom was constantly in and out of my life and kind of stirring up trouble. And it was just really, so I just remember feeling really hopeless and really lost. And I felt like I didn't really have a purpose in life. I kind of felt like a ghost, and I wasn't really sure why God put me here. And like what was the point? Why let someone go through all of this trauma and then just like leave them to their own demise and vices? And I fully believed he existed. I just didn't think that I just don't think he really cared at that time. That's what I thought. I just thought like that he heard me, but it didn't matter that much. It was kind of a slow process. It was like, it really started so I met God actually in high school, and I was pretty fiery, pretty on fire for the Lord, and I got baptized. He told me to get baptized, and I did, and but I honestly just didn't really have any like discipleship. To be honest, I didn't really know what I was doing. Nobody really told me what to do. And so when I became like an adult, I just really tried to keep him in my life while also doing things. What really happened, honestly, is I got really sick and tired of my life. And there was this one day where I was actually like tripping on mushrooms, and I had this encounter. And I was walking on the beach, and I had been out there for several hours. And then all of a sudden I had like this awareness that something was like watching me. And it freaked me out. And I felt like there was no part of me that wasn't like fully seen, like my thoughts weren't private. I feel like literally every ounce, every fiber of my being was seen by something. But then all of a sudden I felt like this surge of like peace. And I heard a voice say, MeKaylah, this is not what I called you to. Don't ever come back here again, and this is not where you belong. And so it freaked me out. I never did drugs again. I ended up moving to Orlando because I was really tired, and I knew that God had called me into more because of that experience. And so I asked him to, if he wanted me to move, and that was his will, I needed $10,000, and he needed to tell me where to go. And I made $10,000 in 3 months. And I don't know how that happened, honestly, I can't tell you. It was God. Then I heard Orlando. So I moved to Orlando. He just I think it was that simple obedience of just doing what he said. Something happened, and I feel like my heart posture changed to, I release all control over my life to you, because obviously what I've been doing has not been working for me. And so when that happened, there was this one day I literally heard like keys opening like a lock and falling on the floor. And like I heard like the door creak open. And after that, like I started seeing crazy things, like signs and wonders happening, like crazy things that happened that I've never heard of before happening. And God just made himself real to me, and like he pursued me. I realized like he's been pursuing me my whole life. I finally realized it.
That voice that spoke to you a number of times, like on the beach, and about committing to a Christian community and fully surrendering your life to God. Can you describe to me what that voice has meant to you?
What's kind of funny is like, I feel like when I look back at my life, there were a lot of moments where I would just look at him and I would ask him a question. And then I would get an immediate thought response. And I would be like, that can't be God. But he always confirmed it, right? He would confirm it through other people, through things in my life. And I feel like I just learned to trust like the sound of his voice. I realized that the sound of his voice was always pushing me into good things, into better things, and that the other things that were like negative and hateful was just like obviously not of him. It was, the enemy. But so then I guess I just started to be able to discern like whether or not it was him, because like based on the sound of it, based on the sound and the fine tuning of emotion. Peace is real. A quiet mind is real. Being free, it's real. God's real. And if I were you, because I was, you've got nothing to lose. Might as well seek peace, but also like, there's so much more for you than you could possibly realize than anything this world has to offer. Like, I thought I needed money. I thought I needed all this stuff. And I hustled and I made a lot of money, but I still lost it all. Yeah, he brings peace in anything. It's not a promise that you're never going to go through things again, in all honesty. But it is promised peace. There is a promised inheritance. And I would challenge you to reach out and grab it, because it's there. One thing that really changed my outlook on struggling with things, because it's been challenging. I'm not going to say that I didn't like get tempted again, or that I haven't struggled or I hadn't gotten back into feeling rejected again. Like, it happens. That's just life. But it's really about the way that you handle the situation. The way we should handle things is we should rest and abide in him. We should behold him in his beauty and remember and actually begin to look back on all the times he's generally outpoured himself onto us. To enjoy God should feel no pressure. There should be no disappointment after. We're not after, signs and wonders are beautiful, but we're after God and his beauty. And devotion is not optional. Like, quiet time with him is not optional. It's so important. But the thing is I think the problem is we pressure ourselves into that so much, or we try to fit it into the schedule, and that's not what it's supposed to be. Your bridegroom is pursuing you, and you can pursue him, but what he's actually called us is to rest and abide in him. And so I would just challenge you to really, to go look at him. Don't force yourself into it. Don't put too much on your plate. Start small. I just did a ministry school called Sold Schools, and I learned, like, in the beginning we did these lockups, which is where you spend an entire day with the Lord without eating, without talking to people. And I thought it was so difficult, the first one. Like, I was like, I don't know what to do. I need to go drive around. And by the last one, I realized I needed 2 more days. I needed a week where it was just us. And I just spent time talking to him and like reading his words. So it's like, you start small. The Lord will meet you where you are. You don't have to go anywhere. His blood paid for that. So, yeah. God, I ask you for whoever's watching this, that they would experience and encounter you in radical ways they've never experienced you before, and that they would see you rightly as a father who loves his children generously, and a father that gives his children purpose and peace. And I ask you just to bless their lives with provision and with more understanding, and for them to see you in their everyday life in the small ways, and to also look back at their lives and to see where you were there the whole time waiting for them, and you were there taking care of them, taking care of their heart, creating the story that would soon come to heal their hearts, God. And I pray that you would just lavish them in your love even more than ever before, and that you would become more real to them than life, and that they would, live life in faith and in abundance of peace, joy, and righteousness. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Before you leave, could you share one of your favorite stories of God using you?
So I had been evangelizing from January up until maybe June, right? I was so exhausted. I was so tired, and I'm like, Lord, I've been faithful to this. I almost didn't come tonight, but I literally have no energy. So if you want me to do this, you need to tell me who I'm going for. And so I saw a picture in my mind. I saw a girl with this brown curly hair, tight curls, and a green dress. And I literally doubted it. I was like, God, this is not real. Nobody wears this stuff anymore. I'm not gonna find this. But I went out and I walked around and I found her in the street, which is just amazing. And so I talked to her, and it turns out her and her friend were both kind of Christians, but kind of doing their own thing right now. So I got to talk to them and pray over them, but the girl in the green dress was a little bit more apprehensive to the whole thing. So we ended up letting them go, and they didn't really want to pursue anymore because they were feeling convicted. And so then my friend Christina was like, I want tacos. And I'm like, I'm not going to get tacos. We're here to evangelize right now. But I heard God say, go get tacos. So somebody buys me tacos, and I'm just like, I should be evangelizing instead of eating free tacos. But then this girl with the green dress walks in this taco shop, and she looks at me and she's like, no way. How are you here right now? And I looked at her and I was like, dude, I don't even know I'm here right now. like God, it's just God. And so I told her that God specifically called me out here for one person, and it was you. I almost didn't come out tonight. And so she's flipping out, and we ended up getting each other's Instagram. So she ends up texting me all during the weekend and just asking questions. And so then I go into my job at Monday morning. I was working at Disney at the time, at this little bakery. And I am just doing my usual life, and I look to the side, and my friend Victoria, and she's got a group of trainees with her, right? And it's this girl, it's the green dress girl, is at my job, and she's working at my job. And so I just knew and so she's flipping out, and she's like, I don't know what this is, I don't know, this is crazy. And so I just began to tell her God's after you, and he loves you. God generously goes after people. He really does. And so that's one of my favorite stories, yeah.